Would you talk to the doctor? Welcome to another episode of Talk to the Doctor. And you know what? I am so stoked today because I have my friend, pro surfer, personality extraordinaire, probably the whitest teeth in the business, Mr. Dane Gudauskas, in the studio, in his house. Thank you very much, Dane. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, KB. I made it to the studio.
Yes, you did. And I am so stoked, And I see you looking around, and you're like, damn, what's going on in this joint?
You guys are like, it's insane in here. I'm just so professional. There's all this lights and scaffolding, all kinds of action. I'm just like, KB, what's cooking, dude?
Yes, sir. Well, what's cooking is having you on my show. And I want to start right out of the gate with asking you, where did it all begin for Dane G? You know what I'm saying? Like, when you were a Grom, when was that first moment that you realized, man, I love surfing? You know what I'm saying? Like, were you out of the womb yet?
I don't know. Well, maybe. I think, the early moments were really just with my brothers and my mom and dad at Doheny Beach, because we were living right up by Palisades School right there in Capitol Beach for a period of time. And we would go down there every afternoon. It's funny now because we've got kids and Patrick's got his kids. They always go down there, and it's like, and there's so many young kids down there, and you're like, wow. It's the cycle just turns over, and it's like, this place is such a beautiful ecosystem to get that first experience in the ocean. It's safe. There's a lot of community, and it's just this really fun long ride where you stand up and you get hooked.
Totally.
So yeah, we were boosting on the Doheny days.
So you guys were Groms at Doheny. I'm talking, at what age were the first time you stood up on a board?
Gosh, I mean, I don't know.
Dig back in the mind, my man.
How old I was? I don't know. Probably 7, 6, 5,
7, 5, right in there. Grom, full
I guess
Grom.
like intentionally standing up. I would, sometimes you're just like, whoa, I'm on my feet. I have no idea.
Did you guys
boogie boarding
start
all the time?
Okay, so you started on a boogie board.
You
were the boogie team.
Yeah, we were
team
bug.
But then at one point, it was like you stood up on a board.
Yeah, we stood up, and our dad worked for Locomotion at the time, so he had all these cool old boards. I remember some boards from Tony Staples. He had some Terry Sennett's. Just some boards that it's funny now because you see the kids and they're on like 5 foot.
Oh my
twos,
gosh! Just
right?
Ripsticks. You're like, yeah. My first board was a 10-foot 5 redwood stringer surfboard Hawaii longboard. I couldn't even get it to the beach without dragging the tail. It was so big. It was huge, right?
Brutal to carry that thing down.
Brutal, and try to get a turn.
That's why you get so fit, KB. That's what it teaches a little bit of ethic on that vibe, right? The work ethic.
And there always has been and still is a work ethic, but the evolution of how we first stood up, and then that's where, because thankfully you didn't become a pro boogie board, you became a pro surfer.
I'm so grateful, man. Honestly, yeah. And then we kind of migrated towards San Onofre trails, and then worked our way, eventually to lowers, right? And then the beaches in town and San Clemente, and at the time there was some just phenomenal progressive surfing happening all around us. I mean, arguably some of the best in the whole world was happening at the break that we were surfing all the time.
On our shores.
Yeah, you'd be seeing guys busting theirs. I mean, that was at the time, lowers like, there was the guys busting theirs. There was a big Lost crew. You had, even guys like Cremo, Christian, and
Losness. And
Lostness. He was on Timmy Patterson's.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
And Timmy's boys too. So you had all these different eras, and then I don't know, there was like all this progressive surfing happening, but then also too simultaneously at Sano, you go down there and it'd be longboard scene, longboard culture, rad stuff, the Sano Club, and it just felt like, wow, we have such a rich ecosystem here.
Definitely.
And now I only see it looking backwards, but in the moment it was like, wow, we are definitely shaped by our surroundings.
And our surroundings is pretty special when you think about it. Okay, like this is what I've always tripped on. Like when we were in high school, my year to graduate was the first year they had surf teams.
Yeah.
And we ended up in the final against Huntington that year. And there's been more finals of San Clemente versus Huntington than any other
Yeah.
rivalry.
Would you
Okay.
guys take the bus up there? And I mean, we took a couple bus rides up.
Well, I've heard Roy Gonzalez was in here talking about some of the stories of some of the debauchery that was happening, and it always felt a little bit like you could sell our town had this kind of way we were, and they had the way they were. But this is what I'm gonna say about that: they have all beach break. They don't even have a reef break. They don't have a point break. They don't have anything but beach breaks. They have really good beach breaks. I want to throw it out there, Huntington. Don't beat me up. You know what I'm saying? I want Parmy coming around beating me up because I love Parmy. But anyway, I'm gonna go see him. John Parmer. I haven't seen him in 30 years. I can't wait to go see the guy. I heard he's working at Rockin' Figs, and it's going to be great to see him.
Good.
But the thing is, they have these really thick bitchin' beach breaks.
Yeah.
What we have is reef breaks, point breaks, beach breaks, shore breaks. We have every kind of
combo.
Outer reef breaks.
Yeah, I mean, on the right day.
We have all of the kind of, so we have, think about it, multiple points. Reef breaks, beach breaks. I mean, it was a training ground to give diversity, and the way our town, just the way the vibe, like you're saying, the culture, the way the vibe was. It's just a really special thing to think that the way our two towns lay out, and there's still this rivalry, but it's a friendly rivalry. It's all good. But,
well, it's cool because, like you said, like you have friends from so long ago that you still, like, you want to go hang out and see them and check in, and we're lucky as surfers, right? And in those early years, you don't realize you're kind of forging these lifelong friendships.
Totally.
And it's all based around the ocean, and then it goes into the communities, and it's funny how like you kick back and just laugh about the old days, and
it's insane.
And then just feel grateful that
like meeting Parmy, John Parmy.
Yeah.
He was on tour. That was back when Shane was on tour, and I was cruising around doing the tour with just cruise,
Yeah.
And
well, that was like, what was it, the Bud Tour?
91, 92, 93, right in there. Bud Tour days, and like I'm up at the contest with Shane and Gavin, and it's like at the San Francisco one, and ends up those guys are chilling, but me and Parmy gonna go out one night, just cruise out and check out San Francisco.
Why not?
It's like a movie what happened that night. I'm just saying, I love that guy. I haven't seen him in literally 30 years. I'm going to go up and surprise him, I think. But you said something about your dad working at with Locomotion.
Yeah, he was a sales rep for Locomotion, which is amazing.
That's rad.
Yeah, so which Locomotion was huge in Hawaii.
Huge.
And there was a bit of a wave in the 80s where it came over to the mainland. And
it did.
And
it definitely had a run
color
here.
And the prints where people were just into it.
Yeah, it had that like whole Hawaiian kind of
feel-good vibe.
The feel-good vibe.
Right?
Yeah,
like
it was
the Buttons
really
was blowing up,
yeah.
and Tony Moniz and all those guys. Like we used to, like our first surf mags were like his catalogs. We'd just be like, this is insane. He'd have his samples. We'd be like, this is the coolest shit in the world.
Tell the world the breakdown between the G brothers, oldest to youngest. So, I don't know if everyone knows exactly who's the oldest, who's the middle, and who's the youngest.
Well,
if I was to guess, I would say, I'm going to ask you the question. If I was to guess, I would say, I think it's Pat, Tanner, and Dane, but I might be wrong as far as oldest to youngest.
Do I look the youngest? Am I aging in reverse,
You
Katie?
are. You
Thanks.
look fantastic.
I got my
you're the
Christine
oldest?
Hydro here, so I'm staying loose.
No, that's the best water on the planet.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Bottom line,
yeah,
no debate.
I'm a twin with Patrick, and I guess we're the oldest. And
I didn't know that. Oh my gosh,
Tanner's our younger bro.
You guys are twins, and Tanner's a younger.
Yeah.
Holy shit! Like I said, people come on my show and they learn new stuff. I don't think
that's
everyone
what I'm
knew
saying.
that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like I'm just saying is we like to find out new stuff.
You're diving in deep.
Diving in, mister. So your dad worked for Locomotion, which is so cool. San Clemente roots with having Locomotion vibe. You 100%. Guys are two twins and a younger brother. Okay. Yeah. And obviously surf stoked from the womb. And then just how did that manifest? Did you ever play other sports?
Yeah. I mean, we played everything. I mean, we were just open to doing whatever. I think it was because we weren't so like singularly focused and thinking that we were going to become pro surfers. We just loved hanging at the beach and hanging with our friends and surfing, right? It wasn't like a thing. And I didn't see, there wasn't like a huge path forward until it kind of naturally evolved. So we were playing whatever, basketball, soccer, baseball at Del Obispo, San Clemente.
Like little league teams.
Yeah,
like,
like casual
Pop
stuff.
Warner type stuff.
No,
you didn't play football. But soccer was like AYSO kind of stuff. Oh my gosh,
like community stuff and volleyball, whatever, water polo, which was great for swimming.
Insane sport, water polo.
So yeah,
that doesn't prep you to be in shape for surfing.
No, and two, like it's like a gnarly,
so aggressive. Yeah,
it's very aggressive. So we was like, you got to handle some.
A lot of background in sports.
Yeah.
And then at one point, I want to feel like, at what point was it that you, Mr. Dane Gudauskas, decided that there would be a shift from, that to like, you know what? I'm a surfer, man.
Let's go.
Yeah. When was that?
I mean, we were, obviously, being around the scene in San Clemente, we had a lot of people that we would see frequently who were pros. And like you said, Shane was on tour and #2 in the world, or anyone. You could be like, holy crap, these guys are just.
To see that.
Yeah, like they're going against like Slater and.
What did age difference? Like Shane's like 53 or 4 right now.
Probably about.
He's 54, I think.
15 years or 13 years older.
Okay.
So it was enough, but I mean,
so
ultimately,
let's say when he was 26, you were 13.
Yeah, we were Grammies,
Rad.
right? And so I remember too, and Chris Ward would just be electrifying, like seeing him in person, and Corey, like you had him on the show, and whenever you see Corey and Chris and
just light up the
and you're just like, holy shit, these guys are ripping, like, but it was so cool to see it and be like, oh, they're pros, and we actually went through high school, we went to Saddleback College for a year. And we were doing some domestic events, and Patrick started doing really well in making some finals. And then we qualified, both of us somehow. Like I was just barely tagging along.
So humble. He's both of us somehow.
Yeah, and I was like,
somehow,
shit. Like we're both doing this thing, and then we got into like the bigger loop of tour, and then it just took time to work our way up, and then find each other's paths. Right, Patrick and Tanner too ended up competing a lot, getting on the championship tour, and then. I did the free surf thing after a couple years on the QS and found my kind of natural rhythm, right? And it was such a good, the Dane rhythm. So
which is its own rhythm. It's cool. You guys are two like twins plus Tanner. It's like you guys really do have very, very separate. I mean, there's a connection to the way you guys surf, but you guys definitely all have your own deal. Like, Tanner is just so powerful. It's bizarre. It's like just one throbbing muscle, just so ripped, so strong, right?
He's a machine.
And I feel like you have this like flow. Like if I would think about everyone has flow, but like Tanner, just I watch him surf. I'm like, it just makes me want to go work out more. I'm like,
he's a wrecking ball when he gets up on that.
God, and there's torque off the low, with bottom turns. And then when I see you surf, I've always felt like, God, Dane has such a cool flow with the ocean. If I want to say you rip, but there's a flow. Whereas like with Pat, I feel like he's the one that kind of puts it all together.
Yeah, he's got a little X factor. He's kind of like the X factor guy.
And he's got the flow, but I feel like he has this thing in him where he really gets pissed and wants to hit the lip, like he really wants to, and all you guys do, but Patrick,
he's got a little something,
he does, I've always recognized it, and I think he's done really well too, right? I mean, all you guys have done really well.
I think he had a couple of breakout moments where, I think at Lowers, I remember being in high school and there was like a 4-star down there. And it was kind of like early season, maybe April, and the lefts were really good. There was like a little kinky west mixed in with the south. And I remember watching Pat, and I was like, oh, he's on that level.
Yes.
And he could compete with these big guys. And I think it was like a lot of big-time pro names were in the event. And it was like, wow, I think he made the quarters. And we were both like, wow. That was the first time I saw Pat on that stage. I'm like, holy shit, this guy's big and deep.
Just showing, hey, what up?
I'm here, and I want to be taken seriously, and
he was taken seriously, and he definitely carved a path. I think that was I've seen certain heats where I was just like, fucking Pat, just killing it.
Well, Tanner too. I mean, I loved it at Lowers. That's what I'm so excited they got the event back, and someone said they're doing the trials again, and it's like
they are.
Yeah, which is exciting for you guys being right here. The studio's right in the backyard of San Clemente. Like
they're doing the trials.
Yeah. And that's where it was.
Is it invitation? Like, can anyone like the old days, or how are you getting into it?
I don't know. I think it's kind of. I don't know. Actually, it's a good question to ask.
I like to ask good questions, Mister. That's just
talk
what
to
I pride
the doctor.
myself.
Come on,
Exactly.
You got to do the deep dive on it.
Exactly. So that's going to be something to find out.
Yeah.
And then so now here we are. That's where it's at. We're on the chronological level. I like that we break 100%. Away and then come back. So. At what point wasn't there a point where all three of you were in some way, shape, or form either on or about to be on or just got on the tour?
Yeah, there was like
Was there a moment where all three of the G brothers were on the tour?
Not on the tour, but there was a moment when Pat and Taryn both qualified, and we were all in the same heat at Sunset Beach, and it was kind of a classic situation because it was pretty.
All three?
Yeah, in like a deep round, like the round of 32 before the quarters.
When it was 4-man heats and there's
and it was like
who was the fourth?
Mason Ho.
Oh
and it was like
God.
it was like a big sunset, like as big as it gets, kind of some wash
Macking
and
sunset.
Yeah, and we
Oh my
surfed.
God.
I think I had to surf through like 4 or 5 heats, and Tanner made 3 heats, and he actually needed that heat. Patrick had already qualified, and Yeoman's qualified that year, and Tanner was like, he needed to make that one heat to get on the tour. And it was me and Patrick and Mason, and the waves are freaking doming so big at sunset, and it was everything you dream of, right? Because a lot of times when you're competing, especially on the QS, the waves are small and crappy, and you're kind of just like, man, I just want more opportunities, right?
Totally.
And so you go to sunset, and you're like, I have so many opportunities, I just don't want to die out here, you know? But that's what you live for, right?
Yeah.
So that's
sunset.
Yeah, it was
pulsing
great.
sunset has to be every
with
surfer's
Mason,
dream.
it was
and
great.
oh my God,
It was the best. It was one of the greatest moments for us as a family, and then they made the tour. Tanner made the heat. Tanner
made the
won
heat?
the heat, I think. Yeah, he just destroyed it.
I
He
was
clutched up
watching
and
that.
just
It's just been a few years.
handled
I
his
was
business,
watching
yeah.
that. See these dark circles under my eyes?
Yeah. Was that the stress coming in from?
That's because I stay up and watch heats all. I'm a real fan of surfing.
Yeah, it's a good way to go.
Am. And there's guys in Bolito. You know, Cole Hausman was in here yesterday. He just called up right after winning Bolito. KV, I'm coming to talk to the doctor. I'm going, get in here, mister. He had to take a flight and come in. But what's happening is, for all these years, because I'm such a sports fan, I'm such an athlete myself, that it's like, I watched. I don't want to hear about the heats from my friends are in, that I don't have to hear who won already. It takes away all the joy for me.
Yeah.
So I'm up at some strange hour going, oh my God, because they're all over the world, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, so whatever. I'm just, it's real exciting to be from San Clemente and have the opportunity to have around me from all the way from the 70s, Midget Smith,
Midget,
just growing up at the beach with him at my beach, or me at his beach. Sorry, Midget. All respect. So just the 80s and then the 90s and the 2000s and the 20s, it's just the whole thing.
It just keeps going. And now it's just going even more ballistic. It's like exploding.
There's people that ask what's in the water here, And I'm saying what's in the water here, first of all, is the fact that everyone here, it's like growing up, if you're a skier or snowboarder in Aspen, Colorado, you would just, it's just your culture. Right. So we grew up in a place, like I said, with point breaks, reef breaks, beach breaks. Everyone comes here. And here we are, like living it now. And who's coming after us? The Grom's coming. It's mind blowing.
Yeah.
So and then in the middle of all that, I really feel generationally that the G brothers were right in that pocket, kind of right between all the ones you said before you.
Yeah.
Creating this pathway to the ones after you guys. You're kind of in a unique pocket. I don't know how else is in that pocket.
Yeah, it was kind of it was
timing-wise.
Yeoman's was there and Lostness, but they were just a little bit older. But Yeoman's actually qualified too. But you're right, because it was kind of like this incredible bloom culturally with the VHS movies. I mean, Lost being based in San Clemente and you had Biolas on. And their movies were globally recognized. People freaked out, right? And you have people like Wardo and those guys that were just household names. And then it was kind of like, Lostness was doing his thing and really free surfing and competing. And but it was a fun time for us, even with the Long Brothers, who you had Rusty on.
Yeah, Rusty
they were
and Greg,
so awesome, just great friends, but also they really exposed us to some big waves, and that changed our course of how we viewed as a family what a surfer is, right? And look at the McGonagalls. I mean, one of our favorite movies growing up was the Reef of Todos video, and you got Terrence McNulty, and Joe was on the Irish team, right?
Joe Bones,
and it was like you see this swell at Todos, and you just go, no way, you can survive that. And I remember surfing one of the beaches in San Clemente. And it would have been, a classic overhead day, right? And I was like, oh my God, it felt like I was at Porto Escondido, and Terrence is right there. He's like, it's heavy out here. And I was like, dude, Terrence McNulty just told me it's fucking heavy out here. I'm like, he was at the Reef of Todos.
Insane.
And I was like 12.
He surfs, from what I understand,
that,
he surfs a lot of backside San Clemente Island, and a wave that I've heard is just stupid,
well, he
thick,
seems
gnarly.
still keen to get the big
full on
waves. But
I just heard the other day, someone was telling me they were surfing with Terrence. He was just somewhere gnarly, and he was just, maybe it was San Clemente, I don't remember where, but I was like, yeah, Terrence is just the McNulty. Think about it. Brian McNulty made the Final at Pipe.
See,
you know?
yeah,
And
it's
then there's
baked
Joe
in.
Bones. There's, the T. And then the original Sean, who I grew up with, he's 1 year younger than me, and he recounts stories. He was at Waimea, back in the day with the McGonagall. I love that you mentioned the McGonagalls, because that's such a beautiful family. I mean, I can't say enough about the McGonagalls. They're really close with like Brad Crow, who's coming in soon. But Peter and Ian and Sean McGonagall. I mean,
but it's about being a waterman, right? Because those guys are great divers. They surf any condition. I feel like when we looked at what it meant to us, what riding waves meant to us, you have these influences who are kind of like these underground figures who are just charging hard and for the love. And you just go, that's what it is. And you have the performance aspect, you got the heritage aspect, and you got this big wave thing. And it's like, fuck, let's go. Let's sample all these goods. Let's get to know how to ride all these things. And it's really because of the influences that we had from, especially firsthand with Rusty and Greg. And then Nate Fletch really was instrumental in helping me find my feet in some heavy barrels. And
I remember reading that and knowing that.
Friendship.
Yes.
And that was a really special time. And so, the Cinco Mayo, and we knew Herbie, and we've been on Astrodeck forever. And so it was like this rad, like kind of, I don't know, just like all of the influences have really had a tremendous effect on the way that we viewed surfing and continue to view it. And hopefully the next generation can see that and go, that's a cool blueprint. I should paddle out to Mavs just to see what it feels like. I don't need to do anything crazy, but just like have respect for the ocean and sample the goods,
You've surfed Mavericks?
Yeah, but I mean, it's big, but you got to just know the feeling, right?
Oh my gosh, where else have you surfed big, like gnarly? Have you ever surfed Shipsterns?
We surfed Shipsterns a long time ago, and
Dane Gudauskas, shut your mouth. Get out of town. You've surfed ship. Did you take that weird step up? It was
in like an old Vans video. Mark, we were traveling through Australia, and Patrick, Tanner, me, Dylan Graves. And we just ended up surfing with Mark Matthews. He's like, hey, come surf ours. And I was
Mark Matthews. Oh my God.
It was amazing. And we were just like,
gnarly dude.
And then he's like, the next day, he's like, hey, Shippy's going to be fun. Come meet us.
Really?
And we're like, oh my God.
Fun was how you described that?
I mean, it wasn't like,
Mac.
But it was a long time ago. So it was pretty early in terms of our exposure to being like, what is this wave?
It's not even real. Yeah. I swear. When we were growing up, that would have been a cartoon.
Right.
That wasn't a real wave.
But it's cool because, I mean, I surfed, I think probably my favorite big wave sessions have been at Outer Reef at Cloudbreak they call it the Thunder Cloud.
Oh, that big wave.
Yeah. And and it's a left-hander. So feeling comfortable front side. Yeah.
Yeah. Cause you're oh my.
And so that was like,
wasn't Pat there one day when it was
Patrick was there too. That was during the Volcom event.
Wasn't that the day that they didn't even run it because it was too big, and then you guys surfed it, and it was just one of the most iconic surf sessions in history of the world.
Yeah. And Patrick took this really squirrely drop on a 6'8", which is tiny. I mean, we had
it's
nothing,
like
but we were
riding
just
a 5'2" twin fin.
But it's like in those moments, you go, you wanted to seize the moment. You wanted to be a part of the experience, and it just let us out into the water, and then you're riding the waves. You're not overthinking it. But it's because we had the influences early to go, this is part of what the fucking surfer is, So, like, lean into this. Like, understand the path.
That was beautiful. I love what you just said right there. Yeah. That was totally, completely encompasses the whole deal right here. That's what I love about our town. We keep talking about that. But the rich culture that we were raised in created so much diversity, from a way to see the ocean, from whether it's 2 foot to 50 foot. We're surfers. We love just the experience of being in the water. So if it's whatever it is, and I just feel like we just have like you mentioned, Herbie. I mean, oh my God, right?
It's Herbie with his wave ride jet ski thing, and
way before they
skateboarding,
did that.
and
way before, he was so ahead of his time. And is there someone cooler? Oh my gosh, Herbie's so cool. It's like, he's just so cool. And then him and Dibby are such the classic, like, couple of just like iconic, mother and father, now grandparents, and just to think of their whole deal in the history of surfing, like what they represent, I just feel like we're so blessed to be from these shores. And you know what I want to do right now, Mr. Dane G? I want to ask you, who is your top 10 favorite surfers of all time on my show, Talk to the Doctor?
Yes, okay. For the doctor, we're going to go, top 10 surfers all
Because
time.
it doesn't have to be chronological. Like, it doesn't have to be your top one down. It could be that way, but it could be whatever you want it to be, and I'll shut my mouth, which is hard to do.
We're going to go Nathan Fletcher, Dave Rostovich, Gavin Beshin, my brothers, Rusty Long, and Tom Curran, Aki, the classics.
So,
and I like
Skip
Skip, and I like
we're talking Skip Freeman?
Skip Fry.
Skip Fry, yeah.
And
oh my God,
Buffalo, like I love watching Buffalo
Beautiful.
surface switch stance at Macaw. That gets me so
Buffalo
excited.
Keolana,
yeah,
is that correct?
Buffalo K.
Right? Beautiful.
Joel surfs great. Joel Tudor. I like. Jerry Lopez, right? Everyone's stoked. I don't know. I'm a fan of surf. Mike Stewart. Got to have Mike Stewart.
Got to have Mike Stewart.
He's incredible. I don't know. People that just
I feel that's a pretty iconic list. But still, the bottom line is that was a really cool eclectic list. I love that. I love everyone's list, so it's not really like whatever. But I'm just saying, why I love doing that is because I love hearing people's influences and who they look up to and why they look up to them. Some people speak about it just purely for performance, right?
Yeah, totally.
Their top 10 isn't about the person.
Uh-huh.
It's about almost like results. Like, that guy was gnarly. Won the tour 11 times, Mr. Slater. Yeah.
Oh, jeez, man.
I'm just saying, he's almost so iconic. He just goes without saying, right? He gets to be on every top 10.
He's baked into it. Yeah.
He's top 11 because he's taken the 11 times. It's just the GOAT for every region of the
He's
world.
a GOAT.
It's insane. But even why other people do, for instance, mine isn't really for their performance. It is, but it's really more for the personalities, right?
Well, yeah.
So everyone has different reasoning, and that's what I love bringing to the table is I could see a through line in a sense of what
Well, mine is
Lopez and Joel and Rostovich. I was psyched to hear Rostovich. I'm a huge fan.
Yeah.
Huge fan. I would love him to be on my show. That would be such a day for me to get Rostovich
well, they have a
in
cool
here.
podcast too, him and his wife. And
Totally.
he's just so cool. I did a trip with him in Indo, and it was the first time I saw him in person surfing and the way he approached waves and riding boards and body surfing. I was just like, this guy's surfing so connected to the ocean.
Yes.
He's like, I had a period of time where, and then that goes back to like Skip and Joel and Buffalo, elders who have cleared the gap, right, in terms of aging gracefully, surfing for their life, and how to do that with dignity and creativity.
Totally.
And Jerry, like how to take care of yourself. So that's kind of like been my path for like the last 10 years, is thinking longer term. Yeah. Kind of how to find that joy in riding a wave that can be more transcendent over a longer period of time, rather than just that slam bam, break it in half kind of vibe that was happening in the 20s, right? So
totally,
you know what I'm saying? So like, I'm looking at like, longevity.
How can
now.
I be ripping it, at my
and
age?
Ripping? What does it look like? It might look different than what the kids are doing, but does it feel like something that makes you stimulated to want to go back and keep tapping into that creativity?
And when you look at someone like Rostovich, you could almost imagine in a way that the style that he surfs, the flow, the way that it is, you could probably see him doing that 20 or 30 years from now.
Yeah.
He seems like he would just be the flow master, like Jerry Lopez. Like certain guys just go, you know what? They just kind of tapped in somehow to some lifestyle and attitude that created agelessness. They didn't really, just try so hard to kill all their cells tonight,
Oh my God. And there's a time and place for the magic, but I think the flow, trying to tap into the flow, like you mentioned, that's something that's very cool. I appreciate your feedback on that, because if I can understand the wave's energy and ride along with it and to just harness it and play with it, right? Like
a dolphin.
Bend a little note a little bit, bam, and then I'm jamming, right? But you're not working so hard because the wave's got you're riding the shooting star.
Oh
you know what I mean? So like that's kind of the feeling that I like to chase,
Oh my gosh, and it's so evident when I watch you surf. I've always noticed, you have that kind of cosmic vibe, that feeling of connectivity, because I just want to break it down. Like when we were growing up, it was very much a flow with the ocean vibe.
Totally.
Okay, then there was like, get in the feet, let the power of the ocean and the wave be your music that you dance to. Okay, then came this more 80s energy that was very different than that whole Cosmic 70s
what was that
thing.
scene? It was like
Wave
a bit
Killer.
more like Wave
It was
Killer.
Wave Killer. Okay, you became the flow master that was all trying to be peace, love, and LSD.
Yeah.
Okay? And then it was like, whoa, this dude, like, I don't know,
but there was,
like
like,
an Alan
musics were
Sarlo kind of guy.
changing,
Yeah, everything
like,
was just way more aggressive.
way
And all of a
more
sudden,
aggressive.
instead of like, all flow,
It was
cool,
like
whatever.
surf punks kind of like
Totally.
feel
And
the-
it was
feel
guys
the-
just Wave Killer,
Yeah.
just coming off the bottom, just trying to just slam the lip on a different level, right? So that maybe lost a little flow along the way to do that. Like the way you have to approach the wave to try to kill the lip was a little different than when you're trying to hit the lip with flow, right?
Totally.
So I think we went through that phase, and then what happened after that was I think all the best surfing was done at a point when people were harnessing all of that.
Yeah,
and they were
you
taking
nailed it with that.
Yeah, because they were then becomes like, I want to say I think the ultimate Tom Curran deal of just like flow, but
just crushing that thing.
just
yeah.
all of the above,
Uh-huh.
right? And then after that, you got a guy like Kelly Slater who comes up and he's just got everything, and you knew it early. The first time any of us saw him, it was like, oh boy, that's the next level. That guy put it all together.
Yeah.
He put it all together. He had the flow, the speed. He was with the flow of the ocean. He was flying. He was hitting the lip really hard, but it had flow, but it was definitely aggressive, right? And so I just feel like that's when it all came together. And from there, I feel like people have been chasing it a little bit. Like, so now it's a new generation.
Yeah, I
now
think
it's like
they're
you got these
redefining
wave
it.
pools with these kids like Huey
yeah,
Vaughn that I
totally.
keep hearing and watching. Going, not just him, but he comes to mind. Like, and I
Yeah.
bring him up a lot lately because I'm absolutely freaked out that when I'm seeing the stuff that he and a lot of guys are doing in these wave pools.
Yeah.
It's psychotic to me. And then what will that do to surfing? Like in the sense that you got the flow at like some J Bay kind of,
Yeah. Well, it could unlock. I mean, look, I think you nailed it right on the head when you said like you had the 80s and they came in aggressive and it was hardcore, and then the 90s kind of continued on the progressive level, but we're all just the sum of the parts, right? So like we couldn't have gotten to, I couldn't get into the flow zone groovy time if those guys hadn't paved the way to get aggressive. So that our generation could understand how to use the rail aggressively and turn tight in the pocket. Otherwise, we'd still be going straight and doing high lines, right? So, like, I think it is understanding the tools that the past has shared with us and pulling the right blade out for the job, right? I mean,
Totally.
it's like if you got the speed and you got the section, you're going to hit that thing. You're going to let it go, right? And so, or I mean,
And
now
with
the
the shaper, the whole thing, the whole experience.
boards and...
The
But now the
design,
wave
the
pools,
evolution, yeah,
I get it.
it's a whole different deal.
It's
yeah.
their whole thing.
And then one day, whoever it is, Mark Richards makes a twin fin,
There you
changed
go.
the world.
Yeah.
And then not
Simon.
much time after that, this dude, this tall, rad dude, it's funny how they're all Australians, but whatever, makes a thruster. Oh my God, life-changing for the whole culture.
Well, yeah, I mean, but at the same time too, there's still like the thruster totally changed the game.
Oh my God.
But if you look back, like you said, the twins were available for a pretty short period of time if you look at the whole timeline.
True.
And now you're seeing people like Mikey Febbs, Victor Bernardo, anyway, there's so many good Torrin Martin surfers.
I love the way that guy surfs.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh my
And
God, I
they're
love
on
watching his
twin
videos.
fins.
Everyone you just mentioned, yeah. Trippy long twin fin. Whoa.
So like I'm saying,
All these
like, it's
hybrid
like-
models.
Yeah, it's all people are taking some little nuggets from the past. They kind of were overlooked, right? Because the thruster just went down the path,
It
and
did.
everyone got on the freaking SpaceX rocket ship, right? We're all going to fucking the moon, and
It's so good.
and it's like now there's all these little cradles, and so I'm like kind of kicking back on these single fins now, and I'm just
Sick.
going because it's an interesting way to ride the wave, but I see it through my whole lifetime of riding thrusters and all this other high performance stuff, and it's like maybe there's some nuggety things in here to play with that could be beneficial to the overall kind of performance. And so it's a very cool time. for boards. It's probably never been more open-minded, never been more creative, never been richer with minds wanting to create great equipment for surfers of all levels.
Oh my God, it is such a beautiful time for surfboard, man.
Right?
Oh my God, tell me a little bit about this single fin. What are you riding right now?
Well,
like
I
shape,
have
size,
a few
volume, whatever. Talk to the doctor.
Doctor, I got too many boards, man.
Oh, that's
No,
right. I can't.
I have so many boards.
I'm like,
I've
tell me
got
about that
boards
board.
like,
You're like, which one are you talking about,
Yeah,
mister?
Look, I've got everything from like a 14-foot kind of wood board that I made with Donnie Brink. He would be a great person to bring in here because he's a great creative mind. 1311 Olo, modern Olo inspired thing. Also,
Love to
some
talk to him. Oh,
really
you'd love
freaky
to-
stuff.
Oh, get him in here.
And then
That would be rad. Where does he live?
Dana Point.
Really?
Yeah, Capo Beach, I think. But
Get
he's
him on
a
in.
master.
That would
and
be
then-
rad. I
Yeah.
love talking to master craftsmen.
Yes, and Pat Rawson's. Since the locomotion days of Pops, like we kept in touch, and
Oh, that
he's
would
been
oh my
great,
gosh.
like sharing some old school templates at Sunset Beach. Now I just really love riding a single fin out there, and
At Sunset?
yeah, and I feel
Sick.
like I'm surfing. I'm so much more happy with my surfing than I was. I'm just kind of like, holy crap. I mean, look at the old school footage of Barry Kay.
I was
and
just
those guys.
thinking about Barry Kay just
they
now when you
surf
said
hotter
that.
than
You said
any.
Sunset
yeah.
Single Fin. The first thing that came to mind was Barry Kay.
I think he's
want to
like,
say,
if
let's
you
take it a
throw
little
that
further.
up right now.
Barry Kanaya Puni.
Yeah, dude, it's the
And
master.
I said Buttons Kaluhio Kalani. I'm just saying.
Just saying, you're
I lived in Hawaii for a long time,
Yeah.
and I tried as much as I could to, say those names because they're pretty. Kaulana.
Yeah.
Kaulana. I'm just saying, hey, a little love from the.
Yeah, from the
brotherhood.
doctor, dude.
From the brotherhood, from the Hawaiian brotherhood, don't beat me up, man. I love you guys.
Yes.
Anyway, so still, I feel so good about what you're saying with that whole thing with like a single fin at sunset, and then all of a sudden we're talking about, Barry Kanaiapuni. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Where you're clicking.
I cannot remember a time ever in my life that I saw someone driving so hard off the bottom on a
100%.
board. I never saw anything
See,
like
but
it.
that's the drivetrain. And now it's like, hey, where the thrusters, especially out there, guys get a little pivoty. I mean, the masters.
with that.
If you're looking at like a guy like Andy or Sonny,
surf on anything they
they're gonna destroy anything. But I'm just saying, personally, my evolution, it felt like things were getting a little pivoty, slam, like whoosh, windshield,
agree.
not windshield, but you're trying to lose speed to hit this lip that has so much power.
Yes.
Like it's very difficult to confront that thing with.
because you have so much speed on a thruster, whereas with the
100%.
single fin, we talked earlier about the flow.
Yeah.
It's hard to flow.
It's like a
don't want-
boat, just boff, right? And you're
Yes.
just
And
you're
the
able to
release system.
harness that thing.
It's a longer arc turn. You don't get those squirty turns.
Totally.
What we loved when the thruster came out was we had been stuck on
Oh, dude,
on
yeah, you guys been on that
long
board.
arc turns. We were
What
getting
was
a
that
little
board? Your
frustrated.
first board? The 10
foot surfboard Hawaii was stupid. Yeah, it was cool though. But then then my friend trade. I had a 7.8 Reynolds Yater single fin.
I mean,
that
that's
I
a
would-
legend
It
vibe.
was such a beautiful
Was
board.
it
I would
butter?
take this single
Yeah.
fin
Oh.
down to when Churches was.
Church.
Well, the thing about Churches, it wasn't a. No, I would take it to Lowers before it was a left when it was just kind of like Churches.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I would take it to Churches and do these long fade and just hit the lip all long. And just,
Boom.
it would take a long time to come back in and just boom, but it felt so good and connected and powerful. And I feel like all of us, our style comes from what we were influenced by when we were around, right? You brought
Totally.
up earlier, these Groms go up with like a 410 thruster.
Yeah, they're
quad.
going to have a different vantage point that they're tapping in on, and maybe they'll be like, "Hey, I want to dive back in," but ultimately, it's probably going to lead us to the space mission, right? Going off the fucking to the moon,
Totally. Oh my
and
God.
doing cork flips. I have
feel
no
like
idea.
if I critique it, and I don't want to because I respect every generation, I feel like their challenge might be because they didn't have to come through what we came through to surf on single fins and twin fins and thrusters to get that evolution of style. So they start off on a rocket ship and in some way. Okay, like
That's
I
like
remember
a
when
self-discovery, I guess,
Yeah.
right? They got to go on the path, but also too, they're carving their own future, and it's something
there's
that's
tons
always
of
been.
opportunities.
Because your guys' generation, I remember you throwing the TV off the
Oh, yeah.
cliff, and it's like, but it's like you want to do something that your people in the past, you want to see it differently. You want to see it your own way.
Oh my God.
Right? And so
Just
like
oh my
that's
God.
what those guys are like. Look at these old fogies on their fucking
Longboard.
dicking around on the single fins over here. And it's like Dane's losing his mind over here. And then I'm going to go do a triple backflip in the wave pool. So I'm happy to see them do that thing. Yes. But it's just not my trip.
Yep.
But it is cool.
There's lots of trips for us all, right? We got big wave, reef, gnarly, Shipstern, Cyclops.
There's room
all these
for everybody.
Exactly.
You don't have to worry
Never in the
about
history of our sport, both surfboard design and wave exploration, have we ever been anywhere near where we are today.
Totally.
The evolution of surfing
great.
is so beautiful, you know? And I feel like if we're able to give back in any way, it's our love for our sport. It's our love for our lifestyle. It's our love to be able to figure out actually how we all make a living doing what we love to do as well. Because it's one thing to have a job. Like, you know, I feel like surfing represents the desire for freedom. Because it's not a basketball court. No. You don't get to surf all the time. When the waves come up, they come up, and you got to be like all ready to go. So it always developed this freedom, kind of rebel, because you're not really the ultimate society person. You're kind of a guy, at least it was when we were growing up. It was like a thing of like, you know, kind of an anti-society vibe. It wasn't really like.
Well, it was counterculture.
It was pure counterculture. It was against the grain. And then at one point, it kind of evolved to where people like had jobs and they surfed and all that. But I just think it's so cool when like in our town, there's a lot of people who figured out how to pull it off just to surf.
Yeah. I mean, that's the ultimate dream, right? Any way you can do it, any way you can participate in it, if you can contribute to it. And that could just be as simple as sharing a wave or cheering on a Grammy who's like, go for it, dude. Like, we're here for you. Go for it. You got it. And it's like, that's contributing in a positive way that you may not even know.
And we don't know. It's like music. Totally. I related earlier a little bit to the acting deal, but like with music, okay, like you know, their generation had what kind of music, and the next generation wants to go, it's corny, man. We got our own shit. You know?
I love the '80s vibe too. I mean, you guys were blasting it. Like, I mean, what was the music? So San Clemente Locals.
Yeah, that was a classic. Yeah.
So who was it? Who was the music in that?
So we had quite a few different bands in that. That was a Jeff New movie. I worked with Jeff New. I talk to him all the time to this day. It's a classic. Yeah. So there was Sacred Haze.
Sacred Haze,
San Clemente band. Yeah. Okay. There was Sacred Haze was this incredible band.
Dude, Dave.
Here's what Dave Haycraft, lead singer. Rick Thornsley. Okay. Carrie Hayes, literally San Clemente's very own version of Jimmy Page. Like, Carrie Hayes was just like, you'd just be like, you're kidding me. How good.
And where were they gigging?
Right? Dave Driver on drums. This 4-pack was so close to getting a deal at a major label. It was crazy.
Yeah, this stuff is on Spotify still. If you're out there listening,
amazing music.
Go big on.
There was also a band called Johnny Monster and the Nightmares with David Paskowitz, the singer. Yeah. Okay, Shane Anderson on bass. John Fields on guitar, basically the single most virtuoso, gnarly guitarist in the history of San Clemente, if not the world. Like, seriously, on another level of guitarist. Okay, even though as much as like Carrie Hayes was like a Jimmy Page, our own Jimmy Page kind of vibe, John Fields was. You can't even wrap him into a package. Like, he's an eccentric savant, crazy, insane guitarist. And you had Shane Anderson on bass, and you had Sean Spencer on drums. And Roy Gonzalez literally created that band. He literally had an idea for this art that he was doing, this whole Monster Island thing.
Yeah, I remember seeing his
and then he went and put the parts together and said, hey, we should do this theme band. Roy Gonzalez conceived of the band and started the band. You know, they all might want to come punch me in the face to actually tell that story, but that's the truth. And so then they were killing it. Great sound, total theme, kind of like a Halloween theme, you know, kind of thing. But I want to mention a band that was my favorite band pretty much ever in San Clemente. It was a band called Jesus Chrysler.
Yeah, to Tanner, that's Paskowitz.
That was right? Joshua Paskowitz, lead singer. That was a man named Joshua McKendry on lead guitar, who's working with me on projects now, who's actually coming in,
dude,
on my show.
Tell it, Tanner. When you have Tanner in here, he freaks out. He went so deep on Jesus Chrysler.
Really?
Oh my God. We obviously watched all those videos growing up, right? And so it was baked into us, the soundtrack, and the sound was so raw and gritty and electric.
Oh my God.
And kind of just that era that you guys were in where it felt like real kind of just raw.
It was a raw time.
Yeah. And you could feel it. But it's crazy how much that like social dynamics were happening, unfolding in that era, right? And then you have the music, and then how it affects your creativity, your attention in your life, what you're facing, maybe some like adversity, something just pissing you off,
Fully.
and you're just, this music is driving it. And then when you go out surfing, I could see that generation
Oh my God.
just ripping the can off,
Yeah.
the top of the can
A
off,
certain
just
amount of,
popping
like
that
tapping
shit.
into a certain amount of adrenaline,
Totally.
And like brother says that day, he goes,
It's a
what would it be like if I had this stereo in my car before my heat? I'm going, exactly.
I know, but sometimes you got to like, you guys, like you said, we're living it in that moment. So we're all kind of a byproduct of kind of the, eras and the social dynamics that we're experiencing in real
100%.
time. And then the music that's coming out, and then how does that drive your performance and creativity? And
It's so beautiful.
Right.
It's like every generation has its own tapestry.
Totally.
Right? Music
And-
film, surfing, influences, everything becomes this kind of like this, this tapestry, this amalgamy, and then it enters our perception. And I believe surfing, like no other sport or lifestyle, is absolutely stylistic different than football or anything.
no,
There's
it's the
nothing
most
like it, right?
artistic expression. Like
You
full.
look at like Ross, some of the names you
Yeah.
mentioned today. Oh my God.
Well, it's
Think
like,
about-
can you
boom,
think of anyone that
boom.
surfs sim? Like, I can't think of
Exactly.
anyone who surfs carbon copy.
Nope.
No, everyone's bodies are different. Everyone's approaches are different. Everyone's influences are different.
Yep.
Everyone's like, so like everything that comes together, and then you're out there freaking surfing around and expressing it.
Mm-hmm.
And then what I love the most is you just kick off the wave and it's done. It's a wrap. You got to go back out and do it. It's like this beautiful little time and space that you jammed, and then it's a wrap, And then it's kind of
incredible.
just, it's so fun because it's kind of like not so serious, because
Yeah.
you can go do it again if you want,
Yep. It's
or
a
just
dance.
whatever. Yeah, just go
I
have
relate
fun.
to it like, there's discussion. It's always been a thing where there was like, Jesus walked on water from what I was taught when I was young. And we dance on water, baby.
Yeah, dude,
You know what
talk
I'm
to the
saying?
doctor.
Like,
The doctor
we dance on
knows.
water.
I know.
Jesus walked on water. I'm not trying to be blasphemous or disrespectful, but like, and that was cool and all, Chief. But the thing is that we dance on the water, and there is something spiritual about that.
Totally.
We baptize in the water. We cleanse our souls in the water. We come back from surfing cleansed on a level that's totally spiritual.
When that's what's so cool, if you look at all the coastal communities, I mean, in California, let's just use an example, right? You're going out there and there's people who live their life around the ocean, the tides, the swell, generations of people. And then they come back into the community and they're, able to engage with it in a kind of a holistic kind of way because they had that kind of shared experience in the ocean. So I think it's we are so lucky just to live on the coast, be surfers, be a part of the ocean. And it does, San Clemente is spectacular. Because now I'm living up a little further north, and it's like, each town that you go to has a culture and a history and a legacy. And so it's like, dude, there's elders, there's classic stories. There's, that's why I love kicking in the parking lot, because I'll just be like talking to some guy and he's like, oh man, in the 80s, and I was like, what? That's some crazy stuff.
Yeah.
And then it's like, man, there is some crazy stuff happening everywhere, every lot. San Clemente is probably the peak of performance, but each town, Santa Cruz, San Francisco,
Oh my
the
God,
Central
I
Coast.
love Santa Cruz. My favorite town on the coast.
Yeah,
to be
San
honest.
Diego. I mean, the history is
Santa Cruz.
freaking rich.
Rich.
So we are, we're
Blessed.
all living it.
We're living it. We're blessed.
Yeah.
And you know what I got to say? I'm just super stoked you came on my
Yeah,
show, Dane.
doctor. Hey, dude, I am pumped to be here. Look at this studio. This is like blowing my mind, KB. What is going on here, doctor? Talk to me, doctor. I'm like, yo.
So
That's the pro deal right
Yeah,
here.
it's
This is
very
the
pro.
real deal. This is a real
Well,
deal right here.
It only is a real deal because guys like you come and talk to me.
Well,
you know what I'm saying? Like,
We grew up together. I'm so stoked to
So
be here, and I'm stoked to see where you guys are going with this show. And I think can't wait for more guests to come on so I can tune in and listen, and hopefully there's some groms out here listening to any of these shows or this show and just want to take it their own way and do whatever the hell they want to do. And just don't look back unless I'm behind you on the way.
No,
Then please look back. Right?